All right, so a little bit of my background. I'm a self-taught musician and also self-taught in electronics. My music and electronics background mostly comes from my father being an audiophile. He was also a civil engineer and had a concentration in electronics and electrical work. So, as many of you might already know that are in the audiophile world, it's not uncommon to have engineers or DIYers in that field that build their own equipment. He actually designed the black speakers you see there behind me with the EJ Jordan full range driver. So that's kind of where my audio background started coming in. So father's an audiophile. I started picking it up from him, getting interested when I started playing guitar. I started playing guitar about 13 years old. Before then, I would just dabble on the piano and things of that nature, but I started taking music pretty serious when I was about 13 and started learning the guitar. That became my primary instrument. When I was about 15 years old, I started basically doing kind of an apprenticeship with a guy named Mike Evers, who was a good friend with my dad. He's also a pretty well-known audiophile technician here in Tampa, Florida. So I started working with him. I would go there after school and sometimes on the weekends and basically just help him. I would put amps together, take amps apart, things like that. And sometimes he would teach me, but other times I would just kind of, just being a helping hand and seeing the process. Mike Evers of the Evers Corporation was most well known for his Clean Line series, which was a series of line conditioners that he used to make. If you search for him, you'll be able to find the line conditioners. You'll also probably find some write-ups. He's been in a couple of audiophile magazines and things of that nature. Also, I guess a fun fact is I believe Yngwie Malmsteen, the guitarist Yngwie Malmsteen, used to use or probably still uses his Clean Line power conditioner. So I worked with him from about maybe 15 to 18. He actually wanted me to stay and potentially and work with him, but I decided to opt out and go to college. This was around 2008, 2009 when the economic downturn was happening. I didn't feel secure because I thought he might lose his business, and he did for a time. I think he's back up and running now, but his business took a hard hit like many others. So I opted out of that situation and went and decided to go to college because it was pretty much always a thing that I was destined to do. I always wanted to, and that's kind of why my parents came to this country. So it was very important for me to go to college, so I wasn't going to let anything interfere with that. So I started out in college, but not studying electronics or anything like that. I was actually on track to become a pilot, so I studied aeronautics for about 2 years, and then ended up changing my major to philosophy and started studying in the liberal arts. So I moved from Florida to Amherst, Massachusetts, and got my bachelor's in philosophy. After that, I became a professional musician. I've been working in the Tampa Bay area for about the last 6 years as a professional musician. I play jazz. I play solo jazz gigs at restaurants, country clubs, and assisted living centers between my saxophone and the guitar. When you go back to music, I started playing saxophone maybe about 16 years old for like a year or two, but then picked it up again later on in life. So I've been playing sax not as long as I've been playing guitar, but that's how that went. So the last 6 years, I've been working as a professional musician. During maybe the first couple years of me working as a musician, and even throughout college, I started making amplifiers for sale. So one of my favorite things to design is vacuum tube amplifiers. So I'm very much into the vacuum tube world. That's actually what kind of got me interested in electronics to begin with. So the story goes, just gotta keep it short and sweet, but the story pretty much goes that, when I was younger getting into guitar, I was looking for amplifiers and kind of curious I started seeing that there was a difference between a solid state and a tube, a vacuum tube amp, and I'd ask my dad, like, what is this, and how come, like, what's a vacuum tube, and why is that? Of course, we had a vacuum tube TV when I was older, younger, so I knew what a vacuum tube was, but what's the difference between a solid state and a tube amp and all that kind of stuff? So that is what really spawned my interest. So that was about when I was like 14, 15, when I started learning there was a difference between vacuum tube and solid state amplifiers, and and then from there, I went on to study it. My interest mostly in electronics mostly has to do with, obviously, audio electronics, but specifically vacuum tube preamps is what I like to design. So when I was in my later years in college and my first couple years of being a musician, I would make and design preamps, hi-fi preamps for stereo systems. I used to sell those. After doing music and being a professional musician for a couple of years, I did decide to go back to school. So I obtained my master's degree from the University of Edinburgh in science, philosophy, and religion. I am in the future looking forward to coming out with some more products, and that's kind of what this whole channel is about. Aside from being a professional musician, I also do private lessons, and I'm also a physics teacher at a school called Classical Preparatory School here in Florida. So I am looking forward to not only keeping up with my music and teaching ventures, but also coming out with some audio products again, and even starting a STEM program to get kids involved in audio electronics, or just electronics in general. So the idea is kind of handmade through whole parts. The PCB world is cool, and maybe we'll still learn some of that, but trying to get more of a hands-on view and experience of electronics is about. I know if there's anyone here on this channel that is electronics enthusiast or a DIYer, you know that the world of electronics has changed quite a bit since the advent of the CAD and PCB modeling software, where there's a lot less hands-on, especially with the surface mount devices coming out. There's a diminishing opportunities for people getting involved in electronics to actually do hands-on soldering and design. It's mostly done on the computer nowadays. So again, me being more into designing tube amps, of which are preferably made by hand, I'm much more into through-hole parts and actually, the craftsmanship and the artisan kind of aspect of it. So that's what I'm hoping to do in the future, and that's part of what this channel is here to promote. Not only education, but also getting kids involved in understanding music and electronics. And hopefully it will parlay into other ventures, again, related to the nonprofit efforts I'm starting in getting kids involved in STEM fields. So that's about it. That's a bit of my background, and yeah, that's exactly why this channel exists. Thanks for watching.